Greetings. Hello. And in Lakesh, we are the Star Teachers, and we are here to bring forth a little bit of information for all of you this morning, or whatever day and time it is in the eternal now for you. Our message today is one of being centered around the idea of relationships and how they affect one in their progression in incarnations as a human being in third dimensional life on Earth. As we have said before, the third dimensional Earth life as a human being is a very complicated construct, one that you actually made for yourselves as a sort of experimental escape room, if you will. An experiment. Something to experience and learn from. Maybe even for your amusement. From time to time, souls become bored or want more learning, and so they formulate new constructs to experiment with. That's all that this life is. And each of you plays parts that you agreed to play before you ever came into the physical realization of putting on the spacesuit that is your physical body and mind and working through all of the riddles, puzzles, and challenges of this and all the lives that you have spent, are spending, will spend in this construct. Remembering that time does not really exist, all of these experiences, no matter what part of the timeline that you're talking about, all exist together, all at once, forever. Merely your focus is what allows you to have the experience that you are experiencing now. In this moment of your time, many of you have come to us and asked, why do my relationships keep repeating in a pattern of disrespect, disregard, neglect, emotional trauma, wounding, and pain? And we would like to say to you that this happens because you allow yourself the opportunity to learn from such things. The opportunity comes from the interaction that causes discomfort. If you're always in your comfort zone, it's very difficult to notice any contrast. And contrast is the thing that helps you learn, that helps you take notice that something needs to happen. If nothing ever had contrast, you would be in a place of comfort and you probably wouldn't learn anything new. And so you have chosen this life to experience through the outside reflection of what is going on within yourself, i.e., these other human beings in relationship to you. And so what you will find is if you pull on the frayed little end of the thread that is your life, and follow that thread back through where you are now, through all of the relationships, all of the circumstances, all of the things that have happened to you in this beautiful puzzle that you've constructed for yourself, you will find that there is a great deal of pattern. And that these patterns repeat and repeat and repeat. And as they repeat, hopefully you gain learning, because with each repetition of the pattern comes more and more learning, and maybe via discomfort, pain, sadness, or sorrow, or even excitement, you learn new things, and so you're able to deal with the pattern in a more preferred and appropriate way the next time it approaches. When we talk about relationships in this way, as you pull on that thread of your life and you go back through the relationships, even back to your infancy, you will see that there are repeating patterns. That people may have always treated you second best, or as an invisible entity in their lives, or as a mere accessory, or conversely, people have always treated you with the highest regard, loved you, honored you, taken good care of you. It just depends on what you came here to learn and experience. It means nothing. In fact, nothing in your life has meaning until you give meaning to it, i.e., via your focus, via your emotional interaction with it. So, if you feel that you have been in relationships all your life that are destructive, that are abusive, that are harmful, painful, ask yourself, what elements are the same in this pattern? You might want to write them down. And then really go in deep into your meditation every day and ask yourself, what are these elements within myself? You will find them. Humans are very good at hiding from these elements, though. And so they continue to be reflected back to you via relationships with other people. Because humans are so outward referring, they never believe what they hear in their inner voice. Or very seldom do they, at least when they are new to self-awareness practice. However, as you begin to go within and ask yourself, where does this pattern occur within myself? How do I disrespect myself as these other people have disrespected me? How have I neglected myself as these other people seemingly have done with me in my life? How have I abused myself as these others in relationship to me in my life have done to me? If you sit with that for long enough, if you sit in the stillness and allow the information to come, you will see it very clearly. And once you've seen it, once you've identified it, you can make a much more informed choice about how you treat your own person, how you treat your own self in your life to switch that pattern. That is how the pattern stops. The pattern will stop because then you'll become more discerning, not just about what is happening out here with other people. Oh, there's another person who's working that pattern of neglect and abuse. I'm not going to interact with them in the same way I have with others who are doing that from now on. That's one part of this work. But the greater part is noticing the neglect, the disrespect, the self-abuse within your own being and making an informed decision to not treat yourself that way anymore, to value yourself, to love yourself, to give to yourself, to pay more attention to yourself. When you do that, those reflections start to change in your outer life, in your relationships with others. It's not magic, but it is energetic alchemy. This is how you switch the pattern of your life. By taking note of the patterns within your own self and then making the informed decision and practicing the discipline of changing the pattern within your own self. When you start to change that pattern within yourself, you also start to have more empathy for others, because then you realize they are reacting to the patterns outside themselves from within as well. You don't have to preach about it. You don't even have to talk about it. If you start acting from that place of self-information, others will start to follow suit, because vibration begets vibration. And so, finally, what we can tell you is the good news. And the good news is you can change the pattern anytime you like. You have free will, as does everyone. And you have not just free will, but all of the unlimited power and infinite capability of changing negative patterns into positive ones. It doesn't start by fighting the patterns outside of you. Fighting only begets fighting. It happens when you begin to notice the patterns within your own self and take positive, loving, and self-disciplined action within your own being to alter that pattern for the better. Forgiveness, gratitude, unconditional love, and a sense of wonder and joy. All these things, when you aim them at yourself, will change the world for the better, not just for you, but for everyone. And so we thank you. That is our message for the day. And we will now allow for our partner's body to look at the questions or the comments in this live broadcast and address them now. One moment. We are so grateful that some of you have been able to catch this broadcast now. We don't see any questions so far. If anyone has questions about this subject of relationship patterns, of patterns of continuing the propagation of painful experience in life, please ask them now. Or you can ask any question you like. We are happy to answer. We'll stay on the broadcast for a little longer. Please ask any question you like, and we'd be happy to respond. We are the Star Teachers. In the meantime, as we speak, we want you to know that the carrier wave of our words allows for an energetic transmission to come within your own being, working in your DNA strands and turning on the switches of latent capabilities that have been dormant or maybe even not turned on yet in this lifetime. So you're able to feel more. You're able to hold more energy. You're able to use that energy for a more preferred outcome. Your world will change for the better just listening to this broadcast, either live or in the recording once it's posted. If you have any questions, we are happy to answer. We are the Star Teachers. Michelle Meadow asks, I'm curious, when you are only in spirit form, do you have a conscious and a subconscious? Yes, but they work in a different framework than they do when you are in physical form. They are much more in flow, and you're more aware of the conscious and the subconscious. These are just merely layers of frequency of your own being. The conscious mind, if you will, of a physical person literally is embedded into the physicality of the spacesuit form, if you will, of the human being, for instance. However, there is a subconscious, and the subconscious is merely that higher level frequency of the person's being, i.e., more the spiritual form coming through, when it's called upon. And there are disciplines where you can start to enhance that linkage so that it becomes more and more apparent. However, when you're non-physical, all of that seems to be more in flow. The conscious mind is always conscious. You're just not focused on it. Does that make sense? So even though we usually don't take on a physical form, put on a spacesuit like you do, for instance, we still have higher and higher and finer layers of our own understanding, what you would call the subconscious, the superconscious, the oversoul, etc. But we are more in flow with being able to access that easier because we don't have that dense form of the spacesuit that you all are embedded in right now as a physical person, where it has to be translated through the conscious mind via the brain computer that is in that spacesuit. Does that help? Yes, I like that explanation. I'm wondering why when people pass away, they still hold on to similar patterns. Well, because they haven't finished with the experiment of learning in that pattern. That's the only reason why. Again, everyone has free will, and it may seem like and what some of your organized religions and other organizations have taught you and indoctrinated you in this earth school, for instance. The teaching is you keep coming back with these repeating patterns because, some of them teach because you're being punished for not making the right choices before, but that's not true. You simply have chosen to work with this learning further and further. So, for instance, if you were to pass away from this physical form today and have decided to reincarnate back into another physical form, you would carry over energetically and embed into the DNA of the spacesuit some of the more imperative patternings of those karmic patterns that you had before, to continue to work on them in this one. And again, when we speak of reincarnation, we want you to understand we are not talking about a timeline, like you had this life and then you passed away and then you came back in this life and then you passed away, and then so forth in a linear fashion. That is not how it works. It's all happening all the time, forever, all at once. And all of these experiences inform each other all the time, but it depends on how intensely you are focused on one or more aspects of these experiences as to what the major patterns are that are showing up for you. And many people, many humans up to this point, or at least in your recent memory, have not been aware even that you have infinite versions of yourselves living all these different life realities. And so now that you are aware of that, and the teachings talk about reincarnation where you had one and then you're coming back and you're learning more, and you come back and you're learning more, even that is not quite true. You're learning from all of them, but you're learning from all of them all at once, and it just depends on what you're focusing on and quote unquote when you're focusing on as to what lifetime you are looking at. But they're all you, and they're all happening all at once forever, and you get to just tune in like a radio tunes into them. We hope that helps. RH Negative says, how does one decipher what we see in meditation or other dimensional projections? Well, that's your choice, isn't it? You get to decide how you translate. What language are you translating it into, and from what experiential perspective are you going to make your assumptions from? As an eternal scientist, for instance, as the explorer through time-space, through eternity, you get to make your assumptions about what you have experienced already, what you have perceived already, and what you're learning. If you are merely looking at it from the physical, human, third-dimensional perspective, i.e., what you know right now in the little flash drive of your brain that you're carrying around in that spacesuit, the information is going to be very limited, and it will be filtered through the lenses of your memory, your physical memory that you're carrying around now, your conscious memory. So of the things that have happened to you in this life, at the very lowest level of your perception. However, as those of you who are on this broadcast right now are listening to it in a recording, you're not here by any mistake or by any coincidence. You're here because your vibration brought you here, because you're resonant with the energy that we are broadcasting right now, that we're transmitting. You're very resonant with that information, and so there is deeper meaning for you. And that deeper meaning is you already know that you don't just live one reality. You already know that how you translate what's happening, what you are focusing on is always colored by other experiences, other nuances, other learnings. And you get to look at it under the lens of that microscope. And if you don't like what you're seeing, you can change your focus and look at it from another lens. But the way you do that, the way you enhance that, the way you, how shall we put it? The way you amplify the ability to look at it from a broader scope, a broader spectrum of conscious awareness is by practicing gaining more attunement to the cosmic mind, to universal consciousness. And the best way to do that for you in that human spacesuit is to do your spiritual practice. Meditation, however you meditate. Everybody does it differently, but being in a state of flow. And being in a state of flow, as we've said before, the way you know that you're in that flow state, that gold standard for opening up the universal stream of conscious awareness so that it is in your own focus, in your own conscious focus, is the way you know you're in flow is you have lost track of time, you've lost track of your body, and you've lost track of the environment around you. So you're in such a flow state that whatever you're focusing on is the only thing that you're focused on, whether that is being in stillness, sitting in the dark, meditating, whether that is creating art, whether that is being engulfed in a beautiful physical practice like running or dance, or losing yourself in creation of something, or in being of service to someone. There are many ways to do that, but when you can get into the flow state, you'll be able to gain a wider perspective and understanding of what you're getting in meditation, if that makes sense. It sounds like it's a circular logic that we're trying to tell you, get into meditation so you know what you're getting in meditation, but it's true. It's this, how shall we put it? It's like the Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail, or the infinity symbol, the sideways 8. It never ends. It's always enhancing its own connection with itself. We hope that helps. To go a little further, how do you decipher what you see in meditation or other dimensional projections? It's up to you what you decipher. Again, nothing has meaning until you ascribe meaning to it. So if you want to go deeper into the exploration of your experience, for instance, about maybe you're meditating about something that happened yesterday with another person and you want to gain more understanding about that, and you're allowing that intention to seep through. Once you go into meditation, that's all you need to do. Just sit in stillness and allow the information to come to you. What comes to you in the forefront of your mind, of your inner seeing, is at first the surface information. And you can look at that, but remember it's the surface information. And then as you sit with it a little longer, you'll be able to see more and more patterns of information coming forth for you that will help you to decipher on deeper levels, not just for yourself, but for the other people who are involved, and maybe even on a global thing. Remember, all is oneness. We are all part of unity consciousness. And so what is happening in your life, in your experience, in each and every moment of the eternal now, isn't just your experience. It is the experience of the whole, and thereby it affects the experience of the whole. So as you sit with something that you're looking at in meditation, for instance, or perhaps you're having a visionary experience, you can look at it from the surface. Maybe you're seeing patterns, maybe you're getting visions, maybe you're getting an auditory inspiration, something. You can take it at face value and then breathe, if you will. Breathe into it energetically. And then wait and allow the deeper scope of that information to come in. And you may get that information on a different level, especially while you're here in this spacesuit. You may start to get information in physical manifestations of your body. You may feel tingles. You may feel temperature changes. You may feel tension. You may feel vibration. And then it's up to you to be very still and quiet and ask, what is the meaning of that? And depending on how you receive your information, you will get an answer. It may come again as visual. It may come as an auditory thing. It may come as... I've known for a long time that I'm here for a specific purpose. Where and how do I find it, and what is it? Well, only you can answer that question, friend, because you have infinite iterations of yourself and infinite purposes. But the overarching purpose for all is to become more and more consciously self-aware. And when you are more consciously self-aware, you begin to see the other purposes that are all around you. And these purposes inform you as to how you can be of better service to others, how you can enhance your own experience and others' experiences in life. So just take that one message that we just gave you and ask yourself how you can apply that to your life. And when you do, you'll find more purpose. It's like breadcrumbs on a path in the forest. You pick one up and you start to follow it. And pretty soon you begin to find more and more of your purpose. Right now, we would say each of you who are listening to this, your purpose is to become more consciously self-aware so that you can apply what you are learning to enhancing not just your experience, but all those around you experiences of life. To spread the message of your unlimited being. Michelle Meadows says you need a true astrologer, one who is highly attuned to it. Not sure who you're speaking to about that, but astrology is another way of deciphering the patterns in life. Astrology is nothing more than the study of each person's, or even each situation's, or each organization's karmic map. That's all it is. So it's just another way of looking at the patterns. Astrology is a very good thing when you have a good astrologer who is very well versed in deciphering the patterns. Veiled Semblance says there's a great video on this. Meditation heals the inner child, elevates the higher self. Repeat. Absolutely. Absolutely. When you're in meditation, the reason why we talk so emphatically about meditation, the reason why we do that is because when you are in meditation and you lose sense, again, remember, you lose sense of time, you lose sense of your body, and you lose sense of the outside environment, you are significantly more attuned to the reality that is your true self. Because remember, this spacesuit that you have on, this physical vessel that you are embodying, and this environment in this experimental construct you call third dimensional earth life, this is all just a contrivance. It is just like the piece of clothing that you have on covering up your upper body is not part of your upper body. It is just an accessory. Okay, so when you are in meditation, you are aware of your true body. And you're not paying attention to all of the accessories. It's definitely a trippy thing to wrap the human brain around, multiverse and multiple timelines. Absolutely. It's harder in this spacesuit to do it because it moves so slowly. It has to move slowly because of its density. It has density to be able to exist in this particular contrivance that is third dimensional Earth life. It is not your true self. It is a spacesuit that you put on to be in this environment. And so it's very limited as far as how much information can go into the flash drive that is the brain inside the top of the spacesuit that runs the spacesuit. It's just a little flash drive. But that flash drive is plugged into the mainframe. It can only get a trickle of information here and there. But when you are in meditation, when you are in the state of flow, you have a greater capacity to receive and transmit that information and to understand it more fully. That is why we keep pressing you to meditate. And the more you do it, the more capacity, the more upgraded the spacesuit becomes, and the ability to receive and transmit that information is greatly enhanced. Until soon, and very soon, we promise you, because remember, we are you, having evolved past all this and achieving this, but very soon you will do this. We're just here to remind you that you've already done it. Remember, time doesn't exist. So we can tell you from where we are that you already did this. But soon, and very soon, you will figure out a way to not need the spacesuit anymore, or to just put it on whenever you like an accessory, like a new hat, if you like. But from where we exist, most of the time we don't embody a physical form because there's much more freedom in not being limited into a spacesuit, if you will. Okay? So, RH Negative says, maybe I'm already on the right track. Thank you, teachers. You are on the right track. You can't help but be on the right track, or you wouldn't be here anyway. You're always on the right track. And that's the other message we want to give you. You cannot ever make a mistake. Remember, everything you do is part of the experience of who you are exploring and becoming. And you're always exploring and becoming. All of life. That is the essence of all of life. That is how it all works. It is how it all works. So congratulations on realizing that. You are getting it. You are always getting it. And you're giving it to yourself. That's the main message. We're glad we're resonating with all of you. And we wish to thank you all for allowing us to meet with you today in this moment of your time to co-create a greater understanding of what reality is. Reality is the perfection of your being. You're already perfect. You're already whole. You're already the best you can be. Allow yourself to accept that. And then embody that and live that now. And watch it be more and more evident in your life and in your relationships, as we have been talking about that type of pattern in today's broadcast. We thank you so much. And if there are more questions, we will answer them in another broadcast. But for now, we will leave you with our love, our gratitude, and our thanks in Lakesh. We are the teachers. We love you.